Matt Shriver. Welcome to the Wealthy Wealthy podcast.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited. You've done so much for me, so it's cool to be on here and be part of this.
I'm really thrilled for today's conversation. And we've known each other now maybe a handful of years. Has it been that long?
It's definitely going, I want to say maybe 3 years or so.
Okay.
I think that when I reached out to you, I think it's been at least 3 years. Yeah.
Yeah. So what I love about that is, yeah, somewhere between 3, 4 years. And when we first started talking, you were more or less just starting your business. You were just making, maybe a few $1,000s a month, hustling, doing all the things, trying to create some money, build some money, not sure, very motivated, very disciplined and driven, but things weren't kind of working financially. So now skip ahead 3 or 4 years later, and you have a seven-figure business and running a great team and I know a lot of your numbers and building wealth and fully on track for financial freedom. And I just love your story because I think you're such an example of what can be accomplished in a short period of time when you get some coaching, study, apply the principles, work hard, and do this entrepreneurial thing. So tell us a little story first, Matt. Just what's some background? Tell us about
Yeah.
Matt.
Yeah. Great. When I first reached out to you, I remember because I had, I was very fortunate when I first started we'll kind of jump in. I'm going to kind of jump in the middle of the story and then we'll go back. But when I first reached out to you, I had just been fortunate enough to be exiting a business, and I didn't know anything about money at the time. So I was like, it was whenever you go through like an exit or a sell of a business, whether it's a full or even a minority share sell, you kind of like get a MBA. You just get it from like experience. You know what I mean? So I learned so much during that time. And I remember coming to you, I was like, I don't know what to do with this. Like I'm about to get, a decent chunk of change. What do I do with this? And I was trying to look to come to you for investing advice, but I didn't know how to even manage money personally. I didn't really know I mean, I knew what money was, but I didn't know what to do with it. I was like, yeah, I make it, I spend it, but then I don't know where it goes. So it was really cool. I'm excited to chat more about that, like money now and how I use it. It's so cool. But yeah, so that was kind of where we first started. But for me in my journey, I'm actually a physical therapist, and I graduated PT school in 2019, and I realized while I was in school, I was like, I don't want a traditional like 9 to 5 job. So I started doing some coaching while I was in PT school, coaching people online, doing like programming workouts, nutrition advice, just holding people accountable and doing all that. And by the time I graduated PT school, I was making a couple grand a month, just doing that. It was covering rent and, groceries. And then I graduated PT school, started getting into more entrepreneurship. I was like, whoa, this is so cool. Sales, marketing. Like I just like fell in love with it. And pretty much right from there, I only worked as a practicing PT for like a year and a half, and then transitioned fully into online. And like my skill set, and I guess I'm gonna say skill set. It's just what drives me and excites me is marketing and systems and stuff like that. So I built a low ticket company that when I exited there, and built that in 2 years, grew to a really nice, healthy subscriber base. Exited that company because it had equity value or enterprise value equity because we had monthly recurring revenue built into it. There wasn't really a true face to the brand. Worked out really nice, and then exited that, and then started doing more coaching consulting around marketing systems, like the stuff that I was doing for that business. And just, I mean, definitely in a different way, but yeah, it was just like I got excited by it. I wanted to learn about it. I want to tell people about it. So started doing that, and that's when we crossed our paths, and was just kind of in the infancy stage of coaching consulting. And I did it for like maybe a year and a half. It was just a lot of one-on-one work, even some done for you work, and then slowly transition into having a more productized offer, which allows me to build systems and a team around. And yeah, that was probably 2021. Now we're at 2024, and it doesn't run itself yet, but there's a lot of systems. We have 3 people in the sales department. We've got 4 people in the coaching department, and it's been a really really fun journey building this thing too. So that's currently what I'm working on, and I like looking at P&Ls.
That's what I love about you. That's right. So before you and I met, had you ever really looked at a P&L? Were you tracking your money? What was your money mindset? What was the Matt and money, Matt and business money piece pre Krisstina and Matt meeting?
Yeah, I didn't know what. I mean, I looked even when I was going through the exit. I didn't really know. Like, or I know I worked with my accountants. They printed out this thing. It was like net income. I'm like, what does that mean? To be honest, I mean, we were tracking revenue, we were tracking profit, but not in the sense of like P&L. It was kind of like very loose. Like profit was whatever we was just like the traditional sense of like, this is how much money we brought in. This is the expenses, but it didn't take into consideration like, what we paid ourselves as W-2, like all the other things that also impact like what your net income is. So no, I had a very loose understanding. I thought I knew a lot more than I did. And I before like money mindset, coming back to that, like I worked with Mike Bledsoe. He was the one who introduced us. Great guy. And he really helped a lot with money mindset because I definitely I came from a family where my mom in particular had a lot of money that was tied up in the stock market during the crash of 2007, 2008. And we ended up having to sell our house, go into a smaller home, sell our cars, get it like smaller cars. So the amount of like financial stress that was just associated with money was like associated with my mom and her going through this like because part of that too is like her identity of having the $1 million house, having the nice like she'd have a car and then she'd have like a BMW or a Porsche like sportier car, but she had to get rid of all those things. So like her identity changed and seeing that change real time impacted me and my relationship with money to where I always felt like I had to be more scarce and I had to hold on to things or like there was always the worry that was attached to money of like it could go away. So that was like mom's story. And then dad's story, when I was in grad school, he got his business got sued, which was a whole mess, but he ended up having to go foreclosure on his house too. So there was always this like, there's never enough. Like, oh my gosh, it could be taken from you like this and it's out of your control. So yeah, that was kind of like, but Mike helped a lot with those stories. So like when I came to you, I felt a lot more free from those stories and I was spending a lot more money. Like I think before I worked with Mike, it was like I held on to everything or didn't reinvest anything, just held on to it, was scared of it. Then I worked with Mike and I was like, yeah, money. It's just like I was spending a lot, which was helpful for a time. And then when I came to you, you kind of helped me correct and balance of learning how to not just save money, but learn how to like put it in different vehicles and understand that it's not just how to use it. I guess is the best way to put it. Like, of course, I saved it. I still spend. I spend it. I love spending money, but you kind of gave me more of a strategy on what to do with it. You know?
Awesome. And I'm going to jump around a little bit, just kind of money and personal money, and then kind of money and business. So we'll move from one to the other. But what changed for you personally when you really started to maybe like to use your word balance? Like, yeah, I need to spend and I need to save, and I've got a model for that now, and I've worked on my mindset. So what shifted? Like, what were the results and that came from some of your mindset and what I just call money skill set changes?
Yeah. The first mistake that I realized I was making when I started working with you was that I was running everything through the business because I didn't know. And so, not everything, like I paid my rent, I did that stuff, but any expense I could possibly make through the business, I would. And I wouldn't pay myself very well because I thought I wasn't supposed to pay myself. I thought, yeah, that the perk of being a business owner is you have low taxes. So like once I went through your course, I realized I looked at my numbers and I was like, wow, I'm only paying myself like 2 or 3 grand. Even though the business is making 10 to 20 grand, I'm not paying myself any of that money. And you had us go through an exercise where it was like, how much money do you need to make? How much money do you need to take home and like invest every month to hit your goal? And I realized I was like, oh my gosh, I'm paying myself nothing. And I need to move money from the business to my personal. And it has to be a lot more for me to hit these financial goals. So when I went through your program, I started just changing how I was spending or where money was being spent from. And I'll tell you, like, if you use your personal credit card or and swipe it, it feels different than when you swipe your business credit card. So I started to just to like, look at it and be like, all right, if this was a personal expense, would I make this? If the answer was no, I wouldn't. And doing that, plus just kind of organizing things better, I think over that time period of working together, I shifted things from paying myself like 2 or 3 grand a month to by the time I was over at like maybe the 6 months after was I was paying myself $10,000 a month in profit in take home. Then when I had all that, I was like, oh wow, now I can put this into, an HSA. This can go over here. This can go off to pay off debts. And I just had a much better process. So like fast forward from there, like a year later, I was able to pay off all of my student loans. I paid off my car payments too. I just like paid off anything that I owed. And I feel so much more free now. But I would never have done that if I never adjusted how I paid myself and how I viewed my personal money.
Right on. And then now you love profit and losses, and you've shared a lot of your numbers with me. And I'm just so impressed with how well organized it is. And you really know your numbers. And tell me the difference between before really not knowing what this profit and loss was, both business and personal. And now you really use these as tools. Were you afraid of them before? Just didn't know. But again, what learning the power of these financial statements as tools, how has that shifted things for you?
Oh yeah. It shifted a lot because I used to be so focused on just marketing, dollars in, dollars out, dollars in, dollars out. And like that was just the, return on investment. That was kind of all I looked at. But it didn't really help me assess the full health of a business, or even like if you say your household's a business, right? It's like the financial status of that too. Cause like I run P&Ls for both my household as well as the business. But it really allows me to look like about a consult this afternoon. And even though it's a marketing consult, I was like, can you send me your P&L too? Because then I can assess and just look at it and be like, marketing's not your issue. Because it's easy for a marketer to say that marketing's your issue. But then when you see this, you're like, what is this? Like, you're super profitable. Like, you don't need actually to market right now. You know what I mean? So it's given me a whole different perspective of not just kind of like a hammer, a carpenter or like a hammer person. They see a nail, they like want to hammer it, right? This kind of like allows me to see, I guess not a nail, but see a hole. And then I'm like, oh, I could use a screwdriver for this, or I could use cement for this, or some sort of putty, right? Like it gives me more tools and more awareness that it might just not be that problem, right? So
And is it something that's fairly easy? Like I've noticed a lot of people are afraid of QuickBooks or P&L or think it's this difficult thing to understand or interpret. And so just leave it for somebody else to do. Once you took ownership of that, is it difficult? Was it difficult?
it's not for me. I mean, my girlfriend Claire, she's numbers are not her thing, and it's very overwhelming to her to look at it. But I think for if you're a business owner and you want to have a team, and I really have a team, like I think it's important. If you're just doing a solo entrepreneurial thing, freelancing, you don't need to know it that much because you're taking most of the profit home. But like as you start to hire people and your profit margin begins to get smaller because you're paying more people to do a lot of the work for you, you got to know it. So like it's a lot easier, but it definitely takes time, right? It's just like a skill, like riding a bike. Like it took me probably a good year of just like looking at it every week and just like categorizing things and looking at it, not really know what I was looking at. I was just like plugging the numbers in and just built a habit around it. And then after doing that for a year, I started to get it. But it's not, I think it's like you could easily look at it and be like, oh, I get it. Like, the percentages are off. Here's where I can cut expenses. But it did take me like a full 6 to 12 months to really get it. Um, so I don't think it's hard, but I think there's some people who it comes easier to than others. And like for me, I've always loved math like growing up. And to me, it all makes sense. It helps me just get a clear picture of what's going on. And because I also use like numbers and spreadsheets to organize how I view the world. Yeah.
And that's one thing that I really appreciate about you. And I believe, is a big part of your success today is because you really have taken the time to learn the certain metrics and numbers and KPIs and tracking them. And as we grow our business, that's an important piece is the numbers and the metrics are something that we have to get really comfortable with.
Yeah. Oh, for sure. I don't know how people fly without like, without it. Cause it's like flying without a navigation system, I don't know how you do it.
So what is your, let's talk about your money routine. Like, so how do you go about your money? How are you viewing it? What are you doing with it?
Yeah. So typically my routine starts with I look at it every weekend. Typically it's Sundays. Some days I'm traveling, I'll do it on a Saturday. But that's where I've got I use QuickBooks for my personal my business is starting to change. I actually I did my bookkeeping for my business for about a year. Like as I was learning it, it was super helpful, but um I didn't know what I was doing with the balance sheets and it got really messy. So that's changed a little bit, but still business and personal, I still look at everything every single Saturday or Sunday. I'll look at all the expenses that went out, all the income that came in for both household and business, and just be able to kind of spot check and just see what I'm spending on. And also it helps me catch subscriptions or things that I'm not using anymore. And I'll cancel pretty much just like right away. So yeah, during that time, I'll look at the expenses. If it's personal, I'll categorize it. Again, business, we have a bookkeeper now that does a lot of that stuff for us. And based off of, I mean, I typically don't make any changes week to week. I just kind of look at it. And then every single month as a team, like I do share a lot of my numbers with my team too, because I think it's just good because we're all on the same page. A lot of people are paid off of commission. So it's nice to see. So every single month, I'll do more of a deep dive. Our bookkeeper will give us the P&L for the month with all of our accounts. And then I'll look at my business one too, look at the P&Ls, or sorry, personal. I'll look at my P&L and just kind of see, what came in, what went out. Are there any expenses that I don't know why they're there? So I can like get a hold of it really quick. And yeah, it just helps me make decisions and set goals and targets for both business and personal goals for the next month. But typically it's like, that's pretty simple. Yeah. So every Sunday, look at it. Don't really make any big decisions. Wait till the end of the month. Anything that needs to be addressed, let's do it. Does it mean we need to cut some expenses? Great. And then every like quarter or so is when will plan the next quarter.
Yeah, awesome. And what do you think by virtue of being in your books regularly, what do you think it saves you from expenses, that expense creep that can happen in business or home? Again, subscriptions, things that maybe you use for 1 year, but they auto renew, or I mean, the list goes on. But
Yeah.
two-part question, what do you think it saves you? And then what do you think it makes you?
Oh man. Yeah. It depends on the expense. Cause like we let go of an advertising agency last month and that was like at least six grand a month, but it didn't add, it took away from the bottom line after like looking at the numbers and everything. I was like, this doesn't make sense anymore. Like, I love you guys. You guys are so fun. But when I was running them, we were doing better and our top line and bottom line was better. I don't want to keep paying this expense, even though so that one saved us, 6 grand a month. And that would be a lot added up over, if I didn't stop it after, I think it was like a 3 or 4 months in, I was like, this is making things worse. We're tighter. We got to make changes. So it's like that's a lot. But then the small stuff, like the small subscriptions, easily, easily saving just on the personal side, 100, $200 a month for those small things that you don't realize that are even there. So add that up. That's probably at least personal side, probably at least $1,000, $2,000 a year we're saving. Business, that's a lot because there's also so many softwares and subscriptions. It's like Active Campaign, Zapier, Go High Level. Like our tech expenses are probably 2 to 3 grand a month. So it's like even if one subscription's $200, like if I'm not using it, that just creeps up, you know? So I'd say definitely like 1 to 2K in personal, but probably close to like 3 to 5K with tech in business, and then contractor labor, stuff like that. That's tens of thousands of dollars.
Just by watching the numbers. And then just using your books and your numbers and forecasting and helping you make decisions, some examples you've given. Do you believe that like being in your books helps you not just save the money like we're talking about because you're keeping
Yeah.
an eye on things and but how do you use knowing your money to make more money as opposed to just working hard and not ever being in the books?
Yeah. Good question. I mean, when it comes to one of the things that I'll talk business and I'll kind of talk personal, but like one of the things we're doing for business is like I started to separate our expenses based off of like not just have I used to have just contract labor, and I started to break it down to like sales contract labor, marketing contract labor, fulfillment contract labor, so I can see them all on a P&L, and I can see how much of the top line is going to which department and how they're performing. So like right now I took away from marketing. Like I was spending a lot on marketing. It wasn't working out. I took away a lot from it, but now my time is increasing, right? So like I have to devote a lot more time to marketing, where if I did spend more money in marketing, like as a contractor or employee department, I could essentially replace myself and get more time to work on other management stuff. Because when I did make that change, I stepped into doing a lot more work, right? So because the money essentially would work for me if I hired someone who could be better than me and replace me. But using the P&L, I can kind of see how much money I'm investing into the business and in what departments. And I can also see there's also like we have KPIs associated with those. Like, okay, I'm paying the sales department this much. This is the average amount of money that the sales department brings in for us, like their closing percentages, et cetera. Fulfillment, same thing. This is the average, this is our average renewal rate. So I haven't done this yet, but I could also see how much money is the fulfillment department directly impacting the business. If like, you know, if 30% is the average renewal rate, how much above that are we? And then that could help me determine how much money that's generating. And then with marketing, it would be honestly more like it would save me time, but that would absolutely grow the business if I could find someone who's better than me at doing it so that I don't have to do as much of the back end work there. So that's kind of a complex way of answering. You might have had a different way, but we're going. That's one way. And then also just like having a certain amount of money off the top line to reinvest back into marketing, not like people, but actually like paid ads. Like I feel comfortable to spend 10 to 20% of our top line in marketing. Um, and I know that the money's there to do that because I saw how much profit we made last month. Cool. Let's just take a percentage of that, put it back towards marketing for the next month. And as long as I know my customer acquisition cost or my cost per call, I can project, all right, if we spend, you know, $10,000, that should generate, let's say roughly $20,000 in month one, and for $40,000 to $50,000 over the lifetime value of a customer. Cool. Let's just keep doing that. As long as the KPIs for marketing are in check.
Absolutely. I love that. So, I mean, ultimately, it's made you hundreds of thousands and going on building, just building this seven figure business. But I just love hearing you share this because to really build a seven figure business and to have really nice profit margins where you're paying yourself really well really does require that we're in the books and looking at the money. And I know a lot of marketers that they spend a lot of money on ads and marketing, but they really don't have the profitability and they just keep throwing more money at ads trying to get more sales and not aware that they're actually taking a net loss on many of these things. So I just love that you're actually, you're using the books and the money and the real data that
Yeah.
you've profit and loss to make your decisions on should we increase ad spend, or should we keep this marketing company or let them go? And that's what business is. We're constantly making those types of decisions, and our books are a big piece of helping us make those decisions.
Yeah, yeah, I probably would have stuck with the agency that we worked with because I had such a deep relationship with them. Like they were friends, but I really liked them. But I was just like, I can't keep doing this, because I started to really calculate our customer acquisition cost. And how I do that was like, all right, it's just super simple math. How many clients did we sign this month? Okay. And now how much money did we spend on all things sales and marketing, right? So that includes the agency, that includes the sales team, that includes the cost, like our advertising cost, that doesn't include software, but like video editing, YouTube, like all those things. And the last 2 months with this agency, like our customer acquisition cost was like 3 to 4. I think it's like 3 to 5,000. Like it was, I don't know exactly what it was. It's different for every month, but like before that, it was closer to like 2K to 2,500. And our lifetime value, it just didn't make a lot of sense. Like the lifetime value at the time was low. Like we had to adjust our pricing and look at all that, like, because it didn't make sense. We were selling either a 5 or 6K offer, and just off the customer acquisition cost, not covering the cost of fulfillment and all the other stuff. I was like, there's no margin here. There's like 10%, 20% margin, maybe, but that's like assuming all things go well. Things happen. People ask for refunds. Like things happen. And it's like, if I didn't have the, if I didn't have the knowledge to look at this and be like, I don't want to work for a couple $100 for this client if they're going to be so much work for us as a team. So that was one thing that was really helpful. And then even just recently, I'm just going off on tangents here, but I hope it's good. Just recently, like I was looking at my back end offer because we had a renewal offer, and I started to calculate just the margin on the back end offer because there's no customer acquisition costs, but I just like was calculating, okay, if we pay the coach this much, this is a great renewal rate. But then I did the numbers and I was like, wow, just the gross margin alone is like 50%, but also there's all these other expenses. And I was like, man, if we serviced another, like in total profit would have been like 100 to $200 a month from this one customer. But if we serviced a new client, a brand new client, and it was the same labor cost and everything, it would have been at least $500 to $600 a month. So I was like, I'm preferencing re-signing new clients, but as a business, we make less money on a recurring client or a renewal client than we would on a brand new client. I don't want that. So we just, all right, well, we need to double our renewal prices, or we essentially just shorten the length of it. So instead of 6 months, it was 3 months. So that doubled the amount of money that was coming in, and cut the fulfillment cost in half, and then bumped the margins back up to a place that I felt good with. But like it, I wouldn't know how to do any of this stuff. I just started just learning and like plugging stuff in spreadsheets, and it just clicked when I saw it all in spreadsheets.
It's really, I love that you're sharing all this, and just like you can tell you're really in the business. And because we would assume, if we're not really looking at the numbers, like common sense tells us, like, yeah, I don't have the acquisition costs, the customer acquisition costs for this back end offer. And so the profit margins are probably going to be higher on that because we're taking out those customer acquisition costs that tend to be high, relatively speaking. But then when you put the numbers in there, like, wait a second, like common sense, it seems like, yeah, I would have more of a margin, but I actually don't because of X, Y, and Z. And then, like you said, you're able to make a good business decision. But I just love it. Like the numbers don't lie. They tell us the truth. And there's so much truth that we're not seeing by not looking at the numbers. Or I found that, a lot of entrepreneurs, they just don't want to know the truth. They don't want to see what's really happening, and just want to keep trying to do what they're doing to make more money, supposedly.
I mean, yeah, that's what I was doing. I was just like new sales, and a lot of this changed too for me when when our customer acquisition costs started to go up. when all of a sudden, like we were used to spending, when I say customer, like just from ads, like it used to cost us $1,000 to get a client. Well, it got a lot more competitive in the past year. Way more people are advertising. So now our customer acquisition cost doubled. And I was like, well, we have someone's got to give here. Like either I have to become a way better marketer, or how do I generate more revenue off of our existing client base, or how do I have a higher lifetime value? Yeah, that's the same thing. How do I have a higher lifetime value? And then that helped me just go into the business and figure out what else can I do, because it's not all about cheaper customer acquisition costs, which I think is easy as a marketer. Like, oh yeah, you just need better ads, better funnels, but that's not always going to work, especially if the market becomes more and more saturated and more competitive. Acquisition costs is probably just going to keep increasing unless you have a crazy offer, but then you have to deliver on a crazy offer, you know? So it's like, yeah.
All right. Let's let's jump a little bit and just talk, I don't know, just talking business. I think when you first started this business, if I remember some of the stories correctly, you're doing a little bit of everything, just kind of jack of all trades, trying to grow this business, hustle. And then all of a sudden you just decided like, I'm going to get rid of 90% of all these things and go all in on just kind of this one thing. And what was it when your business really started changing and going from maybe 10 or $20,000 a month to $100,000 a month? What was the change in you, the shift in you, and the shift in what you were doing in the business that caused kind of this quantum leap?
Yeah, I mean, it was definitely starting to run ads. I mean, I'm very organized. Like you probably all can guess just by me talking, but I'm very organized and I love systems. So when I built this offer we currently have, it was pretty well put together already. Like all the fulfillment, like what happens, the client journey, all that was pretty much dialed in. So all I really just needed to do is just to get more traffic and yeah, more traffic. So I started ads, and pretty soon after, within like 3 to 4 months, we went from 20, 30K a month to 80K a month pretty fast. And it didn't create any more like operational drag or like the demand of like, I have to change something. So I was able to keep doing that, and I could just make slow hires as I needed it. So it wasn't like, overnight, the whole business model had to shift. It was more like, okay, cool. We've got, I'm capped out. I can't take on any more people. Let me hire a coach who can provide the same level of service and handle another 50 clients. And then we got close to filling her up. Cool. Let's hire another one. And then we did it again and just kept that pattern repeating. And got rid of myself doing sales because the demand increased too with the ads as well. So it was just like building a process around what I was already doing, but then just teaching other people like how to do that role for me, right? So yeah, the shift was really just like being comfortable spending money on ads, knowing my numbers, so it allowed me to do that, and then slowly just like teaching other people and trusting that they can do it. Trusting that hey, they're gonna mess up too, and that's cool, but like we gotta give them some reps and then train them over time so they feel more comfortable with it.
And is your team remote?
Yeah, everybody's remote. Three out of the four coaches are in Bend, Oregon. Like two of them are actually roommates, so it's like perfect. So there's kind of like a little hub in Bend, and then I've got one guy who's totally international. I think he's in Colombia right now, and he's just traveling. He was in Peru not too long ago. He just travels, and then I've got some of the sales teams on more on the East Coast. But yeah, everybody's kind of about.
And then how do you lead and manage just to run this business? How much time does it take to lead the teams, train the teams? I know a lot of entrepreneurs are afraid to start hiring and and leveraging themselves in their business through, building a team. So did you learn team building? Did you just like grow into it? And how much time does it take? And yeah, what is your leadership style?
Yeah, I love. Well, we have a few things. I love daily stand-ups. That's like that's a staple for us for sure. Just because we are remote, it's hard. I've been part of teams where you're doing your thing. Everyone's kind of siloed, and you maybe meet once a week, and everybody that works for me, not everybody, but most people that work for me, this is their full-time thing or like the only thing they do. We've got one of the coaches has his own coaching business too, but all the other coaches, the sales department, this is their only job. So they're still contractors, but it's like I'm the only client they have essentially. And with that, I really love daily stand-ups just so that we can have the company culture. Everybody logs in at the same time. They start their workday together. We always celebrate wins. Hey, what are you grateful for today? Everybody shares something they're grateful for. And then, all right, who needs support? And we'll just go around the room. And even if they're like sometimes 5 minute calls at max, or like 15-minute calls, but we just kind of go around and just like, who needs help? All right, what are you working on today? Cool. Awesome. So we do that for both teams. So the sales team does it every morning at 8:30 because our first calls typically start around 9. And then the fulfillment team, again, they're on the East Coast most or the West Coast. So we'll meet at like 11:30 or 12, which is really like, what is that, like 9? Is it? No, it's like 10-ish their time. And same thing, they're getting logged in. They're about to take calls with their coaching clients and stuff like that. So that's like a big part, the daily stand-ups. And on top of those, we'll meet once a month and do a deep dive on the whole business numbers. So it's like, hey, this is how much, this is what a marketing department did. This is what the sales department did. This is what the coaching department did last month. Here's what our big projects are for this month. And we'll do that. That's like pretty much a 30-minute meeting, just kind of going over our scorecard KPIs. And then we'll do like the leadership team, which is just like me and kind of my number two and our VA executive assistant will meet once a week and just talk about the projects that we're working on that week that are like more working on the business. So to kind of summarize all that, like the meeting rhythms are like really important to just like just have staples, and then daily communication inside Slack. I answer a lot of messages. Like I have started to develop like in the coaching department, because there's 4 people, there is a head coach. So like she leads a lot of the daily stand-ups. I don't come to I only go to one stand-up a week for that. And then the salesperson, the closer who's taking most of the calls, he leads those morning meetings. I come to one a week as well. So I think the meeting rhythms are really helpful, but then just like I led all those meetings for a long time. They started leading meetings, I shadow, and slowly just like, all right, cool, you got this.
Yeah, nice.
I'm still on it a lot in Slack, and still like I'm always I'm still needed, but like we've got a really good team that I trust.
That's right. And then how much, there's the business as business owners, we're taking care of teams and we're taking care of problems and managing projects and all the stuff of working, just being a business owner requires those operational things that we're doing. So how much time do you dedicate towards just the marketing piece of your business?
Right now, a lot. Like I told you, we let go of that agency, so I'm now managing all of our ads and doing our organic content. So like that I'd say, if I look at like my role, typically for the business, it's marketing and then leadership. And I still probably have maybe 10 hours a week or so of coaching and fulfillment. So like I have my own clients, or I have group calls that clients can come to. So I'd say like 10 to 15 hours, ideally closer to 10, is going towards fulfillment. Marketing does take a decent amount of time. I would say it's going to take anywhere from like an hour to 3 hours a day, depends on what I'm doing. But I typically at least will always do some sort of writing for like the first hour in the morning, and that's where a lot of my content comes from. And then depending on, I'll typically have another hour block that could be for YouTube, could be for Instagram, could be for ads, could be for emails. But I'd say, yeah, typically on a day, I'd say 2 to 3 hours a day-ish right now on marketing. But again, that's because I don't have as much support there. I've got some VAs who help with like posting and stuff. I've got editors who help with editing, but I'm the idea guy. And I'm also the guy who's responsible for increasing budget, decreasing budget, testing new audiences and stuff like that for Facebook. So it's a decent amount.
Yeah, well, I just think, marketing is such a big piece of, especially online businesses like ours, but it is a big piece of it. So I'm just curious that what do you see if, I mean, I know you're working with a lot of those coaches that are just starting their health coaching careers, or they're a little bit in, but really want to learn how to grow through working with you. What are you recommending? Like how much again of their time is
Yeah.
designated marketing, and does it stay 20%, start with 20% and stay 20%? Is it going to start 80%? And then when you slowly surely get to replace yourself, it decreases. But I guess I'm trying to say how much
Yeah.
investments do, entrepreneurs need to put on marketing today, marketing and ads today in terms of time.
Yeah. If you're a smaller business, it's a lot less. It's just like for us and where we're at, we have so many different channels, right? We've got YouTube, email, organic on Instagram, and paid ads as well. So there's kind of like four buckets that are there. And I've also been doing more on Threads and Twitter. So it's like where I'm at now, I've got more channels, but typically if someone's new and they're starting a business, it's like just stick to Instagram. Don't worry about getting into ads manager. Don't worry about doing emails. Don't worry about doing YouTube. Don't worry about doing live webinars. Like all of that can come when you have more revenue and like you're out of the sales department. Because like their highest, like if I'm coaching a brand new person, like the first skill they need to acquire and spend more time on is sales. Because sales is where you're going to make revenue so that you can invest it into marketing or you can do whatever and you can get more clients. So like a brand new entrepreneur or a new coach, like they've got to spend more time doing sales. That could be networking, whether that's networking the DMs or going to events, whatever it may be. But that's going to be where most of their time is spent, is like, how can I talk to new people? How can I introduce myself to new people, make sales? And then once you've got enough calls on the calendar and stuff like that, then you can hire somebody who can help with that, help with booking appointments, help with like taking on enrolling people. And then you can step more like kind of what I'm doing into the marketing role. And over time, can you hire some help with marketing to where someone can give you ideas, someone can run your ads and stuff like that. But the average person, kind of coming back to your original question, or coach, entrepreneur, online business owner, you can do most of it just like batching one day. Like I like doing like a half day. If I can batch a half day, and that doesn't mean it may sound like a lot, but I find that that works really well to just create the content. And that's typically just for Instagram. So it could be, all right, I'm going to block off a morning or an afternoon. All I'm going to do is I'm going to make 5 posts, okay, 5 posts, and you'd make this post then. And then what I'll typically do for most of them is on a weekend, just like block off another hour or two and just schedule all the content for the next week. And that's all you need. So it's like an afternoon and an hour, good, or a morning and an hour. And if you're working full time, it could be, hey, Saturday mornings, I'm gonna create some content. Sunday at noon, I'm gonna schedule it. But you got to start with a minimal dose, and then as you, because most of the week it should be focused on sales. Like I'm going to have this post scheduled. They're going to be auto posted. I'm going to work on reaching out to people, booking connection calls, like networking and just like getting business. And then once you have that, and once you start running ads, which you could start sooner than later, but that's not going to take more than 30 minutes a day to check the accounts. You might check the accounts. Okay, everything's good. Cool. You might need to make an adjustment, but that shouldn't take more than 30 minutes. And you could film the ads and do all that in your content day. So it shouldn't take that much time. It's just at this stage where we're at, that's just where we have more channels. We want more growth because we also have to sustain and pay for all the people we have. So like there's that pressure of like, we got to get more calls in the books so that we can continue to operate.
All right, love that. That's great advice, by the way. And going to Instagram, you're basically an Instagram expert. I know you've gone out to other channels now, but what's the trick to Instagram? Like if you're going to give some tips on getting started or how to use this channel effectively, what are some things that you advise?
Yeah, great question. I'm I Instagram expert. I'm pretty good at it, but I think that the key to it, all of it, is definitely to create content that's just very valuable. I never chase trends. I also don't have stuff that goes viral, right? So like I'm not the viral Instagram guy, but if you want to make money on Instagram, I can help you. So what I have a lot of people do is really pick a couple topics that they feel really confident in, and just continue to provide value in those areas. And the more in depth you can go, the better, because that's what you need to build trust in a relationship, with somebody to help them. You can't necessarily do that with like viral, trendy stuff. Like you can, that might get people in the door, but they do need some sort of like mid-form content. Um, and Instagram can be a place for mid-form content. Mid-form content, as an example, would be like I make a ton of carousel posts. That's like mid-form content. Like someone could go 5 tips or so on a carousel slide that walks through exactly how to do something. That's like, dang, that was really valuable. Versus like, a trendy reel where I'm just like, pointing to things or whatever. So like that mid-form content works really well for me. And I'll get, whenever I make my carousel posts, I'll get more saves than I will likes. And that tells me that I'm like going in the right direction, being like, wow, that was really valuable. I'm going to save it. So like I might get on a carousel, let's say 80 or 90 likes, but I'll get 160 to 180 saves. And I'm like, cool, that's good. That means I'm providing value. Or I'll get like, 20, 30 shares. It's not like, people throwing out in their stories, but like, hey, this was really cool. So my play is typically with Instagram is like a nurture platform to build those relationships. And then I use ads to get new eyeballs to it. Right. So it could be ads even to the profile so you can get more followers, or it could be ads to a lead magnet. And then typically when they consume the lead magnet, they'll follow us for more too. So that's how we use it. And then we're pretty aggressive, I'd say, on just like the outreach from it too, because it has that feature, the ability to message new leads, like new followers, the ability to message people that are engaging in your content. You can see all your leads. Where like with YouTube, you can't. You don't know who's viewing it, who's liking it. But with Instagram, you can. So if you see somebody who's been liking, 5 of your reels, they're also viewing your stories, you can send them a message, be like, hey, I want to say thanks for the support you're giving us, or support you're giving me. I'd love to offer you something of value, right? It could be a free consult or something like that. And that's where we find like the most early wins for entrepreneurs too, is just like, because it shows you who likes your stuff, you can reach out to them. And it's a very easy way to get your first couple clients.
Yeah. Wow, that's so great. And what type of what technology are you using? What's like your kind of tech stack as far as day to day?
Yeah, we use Go High Level for almost all sales and marketing. So like Go High Levels, it's got a CRM in there that does hook up to Instagram. So it's like so key. So if someone follows us, we'll use our phone to send a message, a welcome message. If they respond, boom, it populates inside of our CRM as like, new response. And then whoever is managing the CRM can actively have a conversation with that lead, see if they need help, or see if they are a lead in the first place. And if they are, we can position a call to help, or we can send them. A lot of times we'll just send like free YouTube videos, like, hey, I think this would help. Boom, go send it, right? And yeah, so the CRM is huge inside of Go High Level. That's why we like it. But it also has like funnel builders. It's got my website on there. And what else? That's like the main stuff there for that. So we use Go High Level for all pretty much sales and marketing. And then we use Slack for team communication. And then we use School as our fulfillment like platform where client interface, like our clients are talking with us. And then we use Airtable as like our fulfillment CRM. So like Go High Level, sales, marketing CRM. Once they're a part of the team, we use Airtable to track all of our clients' data. So like we do marketing sales, so like how much revenue they're generating, how many sales calls they're booking, their KPIs for ads, like they upload all of that, and we can analyze it every month.
Excellent. And then what do you use for social media and ad creation?
Yeah, I use later for scheduling posts. You could just schedule it inside of Facebook organically, but I've just used Later for, I don't know, since 2019. So I'm just accustomed to it. So I use it for scheduling posts, and my team can have access to it too. So like I'll film the content or I'll make the content. My team will then, edit the content or consolidate it. They'll put it onto Later and write like a draft of the captions, and then I'll go in there and customize it and make the final, yep, this is good to go. So I use Later for that. I use Canva pretty pretty much all of the time for simple graphics and ads and stuff like that. And then we'll outsource a lot of stuff to like video editors. So like I don't edit anything now, but when I started, I used apps like Caption or CapCut to like make the video edits. But at this stage, yeah, we just send it all off.
Dude, this has been great. Thank you so much. And I mean, I don't do this very often. I really love getting into the nitty gritty, and nitty gritty is where the money is. It's really getting underneath the hood and playing with all the different parts, and then looking at the dashboard to see, what tweaks are working and what isn't. And you do just such an exceptional job. So two kind of final questions here to wrap us up is going back to money management curbs where we started, which is my 12-week program. What would you say to anyone that's on the fence? Should I invest in this course and learn this
Do it.
money thing with Krisstina? What would you say to them?
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I can't. So many people I've told just go do it. Like, because it until you understand your household stuff and your personal finances, it doesn't matter how much money you make. Because I went through yours and was like, wow, my business needs to make 4 times the amount of money so that I can pay myself X, so that I can hit my financial goals. So that was really when I started being like, well, how do I make 4X revenue? Oh, I have to productize the offer. So I knew right then and there, I was like, I have to make more money. I can't do this freelance thing anymore because it's not going to help me reach my financial goals. So yeah, anybody should take this, whether you're a business owner or personal. If you want a better understanding of money, of how it works, it's they should teach this stuff. They should teach this in college. They should teach this in high school. But we are thrown in without a paddle. We don't know how to navigate. So I think everybody should take your course.
Awesome. Well, thank you. Well, on the flip side of that, you help coaches, mostly health coaches, really learn how to market and to build an audience and build traffic and do a lot of the things that we covered today. So I'm going to put a link in the show notes for anybody that wants to connect with you. But who is your ideal client, and what do you help them do?
Yep. Health coaches are our ideal client. We do have some other coaches that we work with. Like I've got a couple business coaches, marketing coaches, no finance coaches. I've got some dating coaches, but typically health coaches. And our ideal client already has about 10 clients, and they're charging between $250 to $1,000 a month. And that demographic is who will help. And we typically start with Instagram. It's like just organic. What's your organic strategy? Let's get you start booking some sales calls without spending money on ads. And then once you've got a solid sales process, then it's just learning how to run profitable Instagram ads. And you're going to track a lot of data. Your KPIs, we're going to ask for them because that's the only way we can help. So yeah, that's our ideal client.
Great. And I say this all the time when I'm either referring people your way or people that know you and or have heard of you. And, I see a lot of stuff. And for everybody listening, if you do want to learn, if you are a coach and want to learn Instagram and ads and really how to build a business and become a better marketer, no one is better than Matt that you've spent the last 60 minutes listening to. And what I love about you, Matt, there's just so much hyperbole and bullshit and big promises and stuff on the internet that can be very seductive and enticing. But it's, what is it, that sizzle no steak. And you're just the real deal. I trust you completely. I so value work. And I love just everybody listening, follow Matt on Instagram because he shares everything he does with his paying clients and what he does for free on Instagram. I've learned so much just by
Oh,
following you.
thank
You're
you.
inspiration. So yeah, just start following Matt and you'll learn a ton. And I think you'll be inspired to to want to take it up the next level. So again, I'll make it really easy to connect with you in the show notes. And thank you. I love watching your growth and success, and I can't wait to see where you go from here.
Thank you. Well, again, there's no way I could have done it without you. So thank you for being such an integral part in my development. Yeah, again, from just like realizing I have to make more money and also what to do with it. So like it's been a life changer for me. I don't have any student loans anymore. I have no debt. I feel so much more in control of my finances, and it's a totally different feeling than what I'm used to. So thank you.
Welcome. All right, the final question is bust a myth for us with all these, clients you're working with now and students and all the marketing, just anything that you see from your vantage point. What's his kind of a business myth or a money myth that you'd like to bust?
Yeah, I think a lot of people, it's like a waiting to start paid ads until you're doing 10, 20K a month. If we look at more traditional marketing, a lot of them or businesses, a lot of them start with marketing very heavily, right? They do the opposite. They get money from venture capitalists or they take loans out and they put a bunch of money into a campaign hoping that it's profitable. I don't think you need to do it that aggressively, but I do think I think it's good. The faster you start testing with paid marketing, the faster you're going to be able to test your messaging, because selling somebody who is a friend and family or a word of mouth is so different than selling a cold traffic person. So the myth is like, once you have some cash, you've got 5 or 10 clients, it's okay to start advertising because it's the fastest way, like spending money on ads, the fastest way for you to test your message to see if it actually resonates.
Bingo. Matt, thank you so much. Appreciate your time. Appreciate you. And I really, again, you're just so generous with everything you do. So thank you for sharing that with me and all of our listeners.
Thank you. It was so fun. I feel like I just rambled for a while. I was like, oh, it's gonna be fun. So I learned as I was here too. So thank you.